let's review Hulk. The Hulk stars Eric Bana, Jennifer Connelly, Nick Nolte, and is directed by Ang Lee. What is up, guys? It's a good day. I get to review a Hulk movie. Hulk happens to be my all-time favorite comic book character. He's a major part of my life. I grew up watching the TV series. Matter of fact, the highest viewed review on my channel is an episode of The Incredible Hulk, the first, which is definitely an episode that you should check out because there's two Hulks in it. There's an evil Hulk and the good Hulk, the Lou Ferrigno Hulk. Dick Durock played the evil Hulk, and he scared the holy living crap out of me as a kid. Okay, so for some reason you guys keep watching. It's like it's well over 100,000 views right now. It's insane. I have reviewed The Incredible Hulk, which I think is, in my biased opinion, because I'm a Hulk fanatic, is the most underrated MCU movie. And I like to say this isn't really an MCU movie, even though it is. I'm just talking about in like overall vibe and tone and studio even, you know. I feel like the Hulk is like the bastard stepchild of the MCU. Even when he's in the movies, I've complained about this a million times. When you love the Hulk so much like I do, and the reason I love the Hulk so much is because of the rage and the psychology of the character, I feel like at this point, he's treated like a joke in the MCU. And the Hulk has never been a joke to me. He's always been a pretty serious character. So I just don't like the way he's been presented lately. You know, he's kind of a baffling idiot. They don't harness the power that the guy has. Like in the comics, you don't want to fuck with the Hulk. Okay, he is like one of the most powerful beings, and the angrier he gets, the more powerful he gets. And that's a part of this movie that we'll discuss too. I just think they downplayed him a lot, and he gets his ass kicked way too much in these movies. But this review is a patron request for the Wolfman. If you are of a certain tier, then you can get a request in your honor, a review. And I've been looking forward to reviewing the Hulk anyway. Yeah, this movie is so interesting to discuss, okay? It's not I would say it's not even a really good movie. But man, there's elements of it that you know almost teeter on greatness. There are great moments about this movie. They like if they would have just went this way instead of this way, then this movie could have been like flat out amazing. Okay, so we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what I'm talking about. Now this is an origin movie, and it does take a good while to get to the Hulk out. And I'm not going to do I'm just going to give you pros first and then cons. No, I'll talk about things I like and dislike along the way. Getting to that Hulk out, you have to build the foundation of the character, which you have to do in an origin story. It pretty much uses the same template as the comic books. Bruce Banner being a scientist, he's working alongside his girlfriend Betty, which I believe they broke up like before the events of this movie, because it kind of seems like they're talking about a breakup at the beginning when they are going to work. They're a thing of the past, because he just won't emote to her, you know, he won't share his feelings, and so you can see why that would cause problems in a relationship. And so she's frustrated with that. The opening of this movie with, my God, that score by Danny Elfman is flat out gorgeous. Like one of the most emotional sounding scores of any comic book movie I've ever heard. But during this whole montage, we're seeing David Banner, the father, which, by the way, his name was David Banner in the TV show, which is, I could talk for 5 minutes about why they made these changes and stuff. But David Banner, the father, he's doing all this research to find ways to tap into strength and regeneration and all that. And so he experiments on himself. You got Thunderbolt Ross, a young version of him, who the guy that plays the young version looks exactly like Sam Elliott. And I know it's from the certain angle. You can tell that they're purposefully using certain angles on this guy to bring out the Elliott as much as possible. But, you know, he's like, we're not ready for human trials yet. And so there's this big tug of war, this push and pull between David Banner and him. And eventually he causes this explosion, and he ends up going to prison for a long time. And so in the present day, he's back. and he is curious about his son, and he's also curious about the research, because Bruce Banner was born after David Banner experimented on himself. So in this particular version of the Hulk, he is born with the curse, I guess you could call it, within him. And it just has to be brought out, and it's brought out through gamma radiation in his present day. But this is a character that has a history, a background of trauma. You know, he has these memories of when he was a baby and seeing basically domestic abuse. And so this movie almost harkens on greatness with dealing with emotions in a family and trauma, I guess the repercussions of that and what can unfold through all that. It does a beautiful job dealing with these issues, backed up by Danny Elfman's wonderful score. So now let's talk about, before we get into the Hulk out stuff, let's talk about like the filming method, because that has to be discussed. Ang Lee wanted to film this almost like you're watching a comic book. The editing, quite amazing. You know, I think you take it for granted, like how hard it must be to sit in an editing bay and put together these scenes and these transitions in the way that they do, and to make it feel like seamless. Like, because most of the time you'll see camera angle A and camera angle B, and there'll be, you know, shot 1, shot 2. In this movie, you get it all in one frame. You'll see 2, sometimes even more scenes in the same frame. So you get to see what 2 characters are doing that aren't like in the same frame together at the same time. And I must admit, this filming technique, or really this editing technique, it does push the movie along quite well. Granted, it can be a little distracting at times, especially the first time you watch this movie. Like, I remember the first time I watched this, which, by the way, I did not get to see this in the theater because I was in Korea at the time for a year, and I wanted to see this so bad. So the first time I saw it, I think was like, you know, one of those, like a pirated version or something. It was just really bad. Funny enough, in the pirated version, the Hulk looks better than he does if you see it in 1080p, but we'll get to that. But yeah, on repeat watches, I don't mind the editing style, and if anything, it makes the movie memorable. But now, jumping into the Hulk out, when we first become the Hulk. Now, when I was a child seeing the Incredible Hulk TV series on TV, what's the one big thing that you know, you remember about that show? The Hulk outs. Because David Banner would have these white eyes. As soon as you saw those white eyes, you knew you better get the hell out of there, because you're gonna be fucked up, okay? Welcome to Fucktown. You're gonna be screwed big time. And those moments were exciting and scary. A big part of why I love the show. As a matter of fact, if you watch like some of the behind the scenes on the TV show, they had more women viewers than they had men viewers. For some reason, women like to watch those Hulk out scenes. I can't explain it, but yeah, there it is. The Hulk outs in this movie, you don't get the white eyes. So, you know, he just, I don't know, he starts turning green. So it does take something away from it. You know, even in the Incredible Hulk 2008 movie, they changed his eyes when he started changing. They weren't white, but they were like a lighter green. Whereas in this one, his eyes kind of stay brown until he's fully the Hulk. And as far as the way he becomes the Hulk the first time, it's through rage. You know, it's through him having these visions of his father, you know, I guess visions of the past and all the emotional trauma that he, I guess, subconsciously remembers. And it all just kind of comes bursting out. Eric Bana's performance, it's kind of strange, because he's basically like almost like he's having to use the bathroom like really bad, you know? What am I talking about? I gotta admit, this was the first time that the Hulk was seen in CGI. And you know you have to have him in CGI at this point in 2003. CGI was, you know, in its heyday at the time. There's no way they were gonna have a bodybuilder painted up green in this movie. And I always thought when they were making this movie, damn, we're going to actually get to see what the comic book version of the Hulk is going to look like. And you know, and in this one, he actually can grow, which I think in some versions of the comics, he can grow like, you know, as the anger he gets, like he can like get like King Kong. But most versions of the comics, he settles in at like around 10 feet tall. And in this movie, he gets, like there's a scene where he's like literally picking up Betty like he's freaking King Kong. He never really looks that good. I don't think the CGI was up to par at the time. And not just that, but just the coloring. I think they went a little bit too dark with the green. I know in the comics, he's a full-on green, but a two-dimensional compared to a three-dimensional version of the Hulk are going to be two different things, you know? And if you look at the color scheme of him in the 2008 movie, so much better. It just goes to show the difference that 5 years can make. Because I love the look of the Hulk. Yeah, it's not perfect in the 2008 version, but damn, he looks menacing for sure. Okay, also there's this character Talbot, played by Josh Lucas. This might be one of the most one-dimensional characters I've seen in a comic book movie. There's no layers to this guy whatsoever. He is just hell-bent on trying to get the tech, trying to get the patents, the research that Bruce and Betty are doing, and they don't want to have any of it. He wants soldiers to be able to regenerate immediately on the battlefield. That's his big thing. But really, at the end of the day, it's just greed. That's what he wants. But this is the dumbest, stupidest guy I've ever seen. You've heard that saying, don't poke the bear. Well, don't poke the Hulk either. I think one of my favorite Hulk outs in the movie is when at Bruce's house, Talbot is messing with him. He's like, don't make me angry. And he turns into the Hulk. Talbot gets royally fucked up in that scene. Like, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Like, Hulk throws him out the freaking window of the house. Then he goes outside the house. He kicks him in the back against the railing. And his body goes through the railing onto the asphalt, the ground. He should be royally messed up by this time, right? No, that's not enough. Then the Hulk jumps out. He kicks him again. And his whole body I think it slams like against a car or something like that. But the guy would be freaking toast by this point. Can you imagine that? Getting kicked 3 times by the Hulk? Oh my God. How stupid is this guy, right? I mean, you can't write this shit. How stupid is this guy? Later in the movie, when they capture Bruce Banner, he's got a freaking cattle prod. And he starts poking him again. He's poking the Hulk, trying to get him to Hulk out again. And I'm just like, are you really this stupid? You can barely walk at this point, and you want him to Hulk out again. He's brave, I'll give him that. Stupid, but brave. Talbot was a fun character to laugh at. He really was. I mean, Josh Lucas, he did the best he could with the character. He's a great actor, but the character itself was just very one-dimensional. Then you got Thunderbolt Ross, who is the angriest motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. Like, he's angrier than the Hulk. Throughout this whole movie, he's just screaming, yelling profusely. I don't understand what he's so mad about. His relationship between his daughter, Betty, is so damn strained. Like, she's almost the opposite of him emotionally. Like, she's really quiet, timid. I love Jennifer Connelly to death. She's a wonderful actress. But Betty just doesn't have that much life to her in this movie. She's just kind of, again, like one-dimensional throughout the whole movie. She's really sad the whole time. I do feel bad for her. I think the best performance, the most interesting performance in this movie is Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte as David Banner. And he's completely insane. But I do like the Absorbing Man as the villain in this, because I can't really figure out, like, what is this guy's deal?
You just watch me go. Hit it.
I do like that scene where, you know how you like huff gas? Well, he's like huffing gamma radiation, and he fills himself up with gamma radiation, and then all of a sudden he just starts sticking to everything. But really, when it comes down to it, what I do love about this movie, or just really like, is the emotion in it between a father and a son. Luckily, I think the end of the movie kind of saves it when you have David Banner wanting to have a final meeting with his son Bruce, and they're both just sitting there, and everybody's just kind of waiting back, waiting for them to react. Why they would put them in the same vicinity with each other, I don't know. They didn't know that David Banner would become this freaking, absorbing man. Not the fight itself, but just that exchange between the two of them. It's almost heartbreaking. And it is the one moment that I do like of Eric Bana's performance. He's just so done and frustrated by this time. This poor guy, his life's over in this movie unless he can escape. He's just really like this guinea pig that they just want to, they don't see him as a human being. Can you imagine that? And he just feels like he's nothing. And then he's got this father that cares nothing about him. He just wants his DNA so he can become even more powerful. This poor guy. I do like the line, and I used to, shout out to one of my military buddies, Mejia. We used to always make fun of this last line in the movie. I don't want it anymore. Take it all, you know, in the water. And then once, you know, the father, David Banner, gets the power and he like, I don't know, his whole body like blows up or something. He goes, take it back. Take it all!
Take it back.
Really, this movie, it's just like, I think it's like an experiment. It's very different. Where do you go with the Hulk after a movie like this? Like, they didn't know what the hell to do with the Hulk after this movie. It's a shame that Universal still owns the rights to the Hulk and they have no idea what to do with him. We'll probably, in our lifetimes, we might not ever get another solo Hulk movie. You know, it's a shame because the guy's kind of in limbo. He's like the bastard stepchild. When you're not the hot property, the main property, then you don't really get all the respect that all the other properties get. So it's a shame. But yeah, this movie, it's there. It exists. I pretty much give it just like a humdrum. But it is a hard movie to get through. It's too long. And the Hulk looks like Gumby. He doesn't look good at all. But the only saving grace of this movie is the emotion. The psychology of it, not the poodles. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on the Hulk. I've seen some people say they love this movie, okay? Which I find interesting. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. You know, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.